There is a deal between President William Samoei Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga. And the consequences of that deal are beginning to be felt. And this is how one must understand the purge within ODM. The expulsion of the 5 members of ODM is just the beginning of things. A lot more is going to follow. Many people have tried to blame ODM and Raila Odinga, saying, as Gachagua said, what is wrong with people greeting the president if you yourself are greeting the president? But let me also explain to such a people. When 2 armies are at war and they want to negotiate a truce or peace or ceasefire, it's not the soldiers who do so. It's the generals. In other words, generals from both sides can sit down and talk about cessation of hostilities. But assuming a soldier crossed over to the other side before then and is found being coy and cozy with soldiers from the other side, what is that called in the military? What is the punishment? We all know. So these ODM members of parliament, when they go to State House, ostensible to seek development, whatever that means, they are behaving like a soldier from one army crossing over to the opponent's side. But when the generals meet, then they talk. There are also those who have faulted the law. But the law is clear, as the lawyers will tell us. Not just about Article 103, which is a little messy, and the political parties act, but there's also 99. Because you qualify to run as member of parliament if you belong to a political party, unless you are an independent candidate. The moment you cease to have that qualification, then you also cease being a member of parliament. It goes without saying. There are also those who have argued that there must be tolerance, which is true. There must be difference of opinion. It's true. But there's no party that can exist with the sort of shenanigans we are seeing around ODM and Jubilee. No. We all agreed we need democracy in this country. And there can be no democracy in our context without strong political parties. There can be no strong political parties that become the foundation of democracy if there's no party discipline. So there are no two ways about it. Indeed, I dare add, by the time people like Tom Ojenda, my friend Jalango and the rest did what they did, if they have any values, they long should have resigned on their own without even the law chasing after them. Then there are those who, like the president have said, in assuring those people like Elisha and Jalango and the rest, that forget about this thing. It will go round and round and you'll finish your 5 years. President Ruto seems to have forgotten that he had the same view about ICC, saying that the ICC will take tens, perhaps hundreds of years. And that's why he didn't see any sense in the tribunal that Kibaki and Raila were trying to establish so that no Kenyan would have been hauled to the Hague. The president then should remember that it didn't take the tens or hundreds of years he thought. People had argued, let's not be vague, let's go to the Hague. And Hague came sooner than they had imagined. Nobody can tell me, as a human being, that the president and Uhuru Kenyatta enjoyed their tours to the Hague. Even if you are a strong man, and indeed I think the president is a very strong man, What would you say about your spouse? As you board the plane to the ICC, to Hague, what do you say about your children? Are they as strong as you, your friends and other relatives? So he went through an ordeal, and yet he had rubbished the process at the Hague merely because it would take forever. It didn't take forever. Equally, he's trying to console the rebel MPs, Elisha and the rest, by telling them, I've been through this thing. This will take forever. And Raila has alluded the same. Actually, he has said that anybody who thinks so will, as Americans say, have another think coming. That things will not work that way. So yes, it can take long. And it takes long because, like I've said before, because of the institutions we have put in place to ensure wherever we have disputes, those disputes are resolved expeditiously, at the same time judiciously. So the office of the Registrar of Political Parties will do what it has been doing. The tribunal will do what it has been doing. And on, and days upon days will pass. It will go to the High Court. The judiciary, as usual, will take their sweet time. So 5 years will be over. But I have two things to say to Kenyans. One, let those institutions and persons in those institutions not push Kenyans to taking the law into their own hands. If a person loses a goat and the neighbor is the one who has stolen it, and they go before the chief, and the chief gets a bribe, and that neighbor who has taken somebody's goat comes back, no punishment. The goat is gone. It happens twice. On the third time, this guy realizes the chief will never help me. He goes to the judiciary, to the court, to the police. The guy is arrested by the police, but in the afternoon he's at home. And next time the same, but perhaps luckily for him it gets to the court. He's given bail terms that are kindergarten. What are you telling the citizens of this country? Actually, I'm not advising, but I'm warning the people who manage these institutions. You are asking that man next time to take a panga and go after the thief. Then we should not have the sort of country we think we should be having. It will be a jungle state. So yes, it can take forever. But those who make this thing take forever should also be warned that you are destroying this society. The second thing is related to that. I have always urged Kenyans, make this place a good place to stay for yourself, your children, and their children. There's no other place. Corona should have taught you that you can be locked in your country. You don't know the next thing that will come. The problem of immigration in Europe should also have taught you home is best. But you spoil your countries and then are willing to die crossing the Mediterranean. You go through very embarrassing situations with immigrations and airports trying to go to other people's countries. I've seen some senator looking very sheepish, taking photos like a teenager. The ambience of where he is in another country. Those countries you go to do not do the sort of things you are doing. They are serious. And that's why I'm saying if Kenyans want to remain a poor country, a dirty country, let them do the things we are doing. Let us not be serious. People who are serious, when a party expels those 5 people within maximum 90 days, they should have lost their seats. Those are the people you are dying to go to their country. That's just how serious you are. But if you are content with having a country where half the population go to bed hungry, a country where millions of young people are not employed, a country in whose capital city over 80-85% of the inhabitants of Nairobi live in what we call slums like Kibe, Kibra, Madare, Mukuru, Kwanjenga, and so on, Nguaro, then let's continue doing the things we are doing. If we are happy with children going to things you call schools that are not schools, let's continue doing what we are doing. If we are content and happy with a country where people die from diarrhea and hunger, captured on international television, people eating even raw roots and even dogs, I understand. If that's okay with us, let's continue doing what we are doing. So when I see educated men saying this expulsion means nothing, I'm still the MP for the next I don't know how many years, then you, in a sense, are rubber stamping the situation in the country with the sort of levels of poverty we have and the disregard for law and decency and the values. Just ask yourself, unless you are stupid, how long is this going to take? How long are you going to continue enjoying those good things you are enjoying and living where you are living when you are creating a state of despair in the country? So this purge must be seen in many ways to be what it is. But above all, it is part of the deal between Ruto and Raila Odinga. How about Raila Odinga and Ruto? How about Ruto's deal with Raila Odinga? Ruto is also going to have purge. It will begin in a very subtle way. It's already started. People who have parties but are within Kenya Kwanza are going to be told, please, and Malala is already telling them, can you please fold your kiosks? Salem Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, Amason Kingi, and the rest of these people with their parties. They will be told, join UDA. Unknown to them, it will be part of this purge that is necessary for the deal between Raila and Ruto. And they will create room for others. Even if you had to have the constitutional amendment that will create the office of Prime Minister, or you call Prime Cabinet Secretary, whatever you call it, if you think it will go to Mudavadi, then you have another thing coming, like Americans say. You will see where it will go. So there is a deal between Ruto and Raila Odinga. And that deal will have many casualties. The purge within ODM is just but the beginning. Even people like Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, this deal will spell doom to you. Much as you say there's nothing at Bomas, you could be right, there's nothing, because this is mere PR. Raila and Ruto already have a deal. But you could also be wrong, because even the small things that will be realized at Bomas will affect you, Rigathi Gachagua. But even Rigathi Gachagua, Raila Odinga, and William Ruto may also be wrong, because when they think they have a deal, the two of them, and below them, Rigathi Gachagua thinking there is nothing coming out of Bomas, the people of this country, like I've said before, may and indeed should take over the process at Bomas with a view to having a really national conversation. Because Bomas of Kenya is too limiting, especially the moment people went to parliament so that they operated within the law. My understanding, and I could be wrong, is they were timing money. Because the only way you can get government money is take this thing to parliament. It becomes legal. Then you can draw money for allowances and everything. But unknown unto you, the moment you went that route, the legal route, you, Raila Odinga and your people, you have lost the main struggle. The main struggle was about a stolen election. You cannot discuss a stolen election within the ambits of the law. The election, according to the law, ended the moment Kenyans voted. Ruto was declared the winner. The Supreme Court affirmed that victory, period. Finito. You cannot, within the context of the law, like within Bomas, negotiate anything about elections. They are gone. And Ruto is the president. Moreover, many of the things that you think you can do at Bomas are so major in implication that if the High Court or the Supreme Court stopped them, I will agree with them, unlike with the BBI. Because you cannot create office of the official opposition leader within the context of a presidential system. No, cannot. And you cannot force a prime cabinet something, or prime minister, without a major relook at the structure of government. And that major relook at the structure cannot be handled within the confines of Bomas, within the confines of parliament, within the confines of a motion. Imagine just a motion. It's not even an act of parliament. And that's why I'm optimistic. Perhaps unknown to these people, that Bomas will grow into a big thing. And I invite Kenyans of goodwill to take over the process at Bomas. Let Bomas become a big national conversation so that we come out from Bomas with a national charter in the way in which the Bomas spirit was envisioned but aborted at Naivasha. The people of this country desire a new constitution, not new in the manner that you are creating one, but a national conversation creating a charter. So that this talk about 11 new counties, which, by the way, you cannot handle within the confines of Bomas. This country is ripe for a national conversation. Beyond the deal between Raila and Ruto, the country is ripe for a national conversation. And that national conversation will address the political question in this country. That political question, if we don't address, we will find ourselves where we are every 5 years. And the worst could happen. That national conversation will produce that charter that will address that political question. And the time is now. Bomas is the opportunity.